Hello everyone, welcome to the When It Worked podcast. You're with the host Julie Leahy. Today I'm joined by Tina Bernstein. Heidi Gross is missing in action. We don't know where she is. We'll find out sooner or later. Welcome to the show, Tina.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Alright, we're going to play one person Jeopardy today, just for fun. I don't know the answers, so I can sort of go against you. In the nicest possible way. Tina, the categories are math, Norse mythology, potpourri, which is like a mixed bag, sickness and health, sea and geography words that start with C, nuclear physics, which I will not be able to help you with. What would you like?
Let's go for sickness and health.
Sickness and health for 100, I assume. Snellen's chart is standard equipment for giving this type of test. You and I have both taken this test.
Am I supposed to read off something? I can't see.
The question is, Snellen's chart is standard equipment for giving this type of test.
Right.
And I was saying, you and I have both taken this test.
Yeah.
And you can tell.
You can tell. So
by looking at me, and I can tell by looking at you.
Okay.
The answer is. Do you have one?
No.
The answer is an eye test. You've got your glasses on your head. I've got mine on my face.
Yes.
Next question. What would you like?
$200.
200. Sickness and health. Surgical instrument that's most similar to tweezers.
Is it dental? Some dental sort of tweezers.
I'm not sure, but I've got a fair idea. You may have experienced this. I'm not sure if you have or not, but a lady that's given birth naturally may have used these implements.
Okay, so is it? I've not given birth, but
similar to tweezers.
What are they called? I forgot what it's called now.
They are
to get the baby's head out, right?
Yes. Forceps is the answer.
Forceps. Thank you so much. Forceps. That's right.
It was in there. You knew what it was, just couldn't.
Yeah, I knew what it was. I just
remember the name. What would you like next?
Let's go for 300.
300. Sickness and health. Childhood viral disease that causes swelling of the parotid glands.
It would be good if I knew what parotid glands were.
Just think swelling glands. Sorry?
Swelling of the stomach.
I think it's going to be mumps. Mumps it is.
Where do you see the answers?
They're just underneath in small font. You probably won't be able to see them. I'll read them out to you.
No, I can't see it.
Have you had mumps before, Tina?
Yes, when I was very little.
Yeah, you have it when you're little, pretty much. Should we keep going? Sickness and health?
Yes, 400.
400. The key ingredient in smelling salts, which are used to revive a person who has fainted. Also used to boxers who have been dazed.
Oh my God, I know that. And again, I can't.
I don't know this one. I have read it, but it's long gone.
Yeah.
Some sort of acid or something.
Yeah, but it's no. There's a specific name for it. Okay, tell me.
Let's take a look. Oh, it's just ammonia.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's exactly it.
Smelly ammonia. 500. Sickness and health, Tina?
Yes.
Overweight, heavy snorers are prone to this disorder in which breathing stops for short periods of time. My father-in-law has this.
Yeah, I know what it is, but I can't remember the name.
I'm scared of it. On
it
Christmas.
Starts with A.
Starts with A. What was it? Starts with...
Well, I forgot, but I think it starts with A. um, you know, they stop for a few seconds, and so people.
Sleep apnea is the answer.
Yeah, apnea. Well, that's what it is. It's apnea. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Where are we going?
So
Tina?
potpourri is just a mixture of things,
I
right?
believe so, yes.
Okay, so let's go potpourri.
Potpourri for 100 in 1988, officials in this country admitted they had printed false maps for years to fool enemies.
In which country?
Exactly, that's the question. In 1988, officials in this country admitted they had printed false maps for years to fool enemies.
I see.
So look at the year.
1988. That's so interesting that it's so. Wow. 1988. Well, it wouldn't be the US. So I don't know.
I reckon it's one of the people in the Cold War, one of the countries involved in the Cold War.
So Iran
And
or
the Cold
Iraq?
War was Russia and US, and
Okay.
USSR, Russia, was the answer on that one. Potpourri, 200.
Yeah.
Hannibal had 38 of these animals when he began crossing the Alps, but few survived the ice and snow.
I have no idea.
He was an explorer, and you would often see. How can I say? It's a big animal.
Yeah, but it would be some sort of big dog, no?
No.
So
The answer is
he was an explorer.
elephants. Hannibal traveled on
Really?
elephants. He did.
Wow.
Let's do potpourri 300. Imported into Brazil from Africa, these killer insects escaped the lab and bred with locals.
To Brazil from Africa, these killer insects escaped the lab and bred with locals.
Have you heard of the movie Attack of the Killer?
No.
Bees is the answer.
When was that then?
Well, in the 70s, there was a lot of movies and stuff came out. I'll be assuming it happened then. And the European honeybees bred with the large African bees, and they became ultra aggressive when they bred, apparently, and they were killing people. Truthfully,
Wow.
happened. Unbelievable. Made good movies too. The US Army awarded 8612 medals, 8,612 medals after this 1983 invasion, although fewer than 7,000 troops were there. 1983 invasion. Who did the US invade in 1983?
Do I know?
83.
Again, I would say, well, it was before, it was before Afghanistan, all of those. So I don't know who they invaded. I'm not very good at that, to be honest. Who did they invade?
They invaded Grenada.
Oh, okay.
I think it was
No,
Stormin Norman Schwarzkopf might have been the general. Let's do one more.
On potpourri, both the
Father and son of the Frankish leader Charles Martel were named this. Father and son, Charles Martel.
No idea.
I would guess Charles, just because it might be one of those trick questions where everybody was named Charles. No, it was Pippin. All right, let's wrap it up. It's a bit hard when we've only got one punter.
I know it's a bit it's
Or
difficult.
we'll play it anyway, Tina. And let's talk about what you're up to. And the reason for going on podcasts is to talk about all the exciting things you're doing. Tell us about that. Mapology Guides, what are they?
They are illustrated self-help maps. So if you think of a self-help book of 300 pages or something, these are more visual maps, tackling big topics and curating them into like an A2 sheet of paper that's folded like a map. And yeah, they're a bit more fun, and they're sort of meant to give you a bit of self-awareness and to see and learn something new about yourself.
Interesting.
So they're gentle and they're beautiful and they're colorful and they're fun. And if people like maps and they like visual learning, then that's really for them, because not everybody likes reading a whole book
Yes,
on
and how big are they?
They are an A2 sheet of paper folded down into an A6. So here's an A6.
Hey, do you have one that's open?
Yeah. So this one is one of my favorites, especially Christmas time. It's called How to Grow. I'm just trying to get into the picture. How to Grow, And that's because most people, a lot of people are people pleasers. Way.
Interesting. And what types of people are most receptive to these types of maps?
Of the maps. So it depends. I mean, a lot of coaches and therapists buy them. They make great icebreakers with people. So, if somebody's going and having a coaching session or a therapy session and doesn't know what to talk about, you can always open a map and say, how do you feel about the color, or what does this say to you? They're good icebreakers and conversation starters. You've got teachers, a lot of teachers buy them. A lot of individuals buy them that want to do them with friends or a partner or a family member. They lend themselves to great discussion, very non-judgmental, and just for people, as I said, to become a little bit more self-aware, gain a bit of self-knowledge, and hopefully some self-improvement, which helps people. So, for instance, there is one on anger. A lot of people are angry. They don't quite understand why. They don't quite understand what to do about it. So, yeah, they're fun, and not to minimize the subject matter, by the way, but they instill a little bit of fun, so that people don't feel threatened, or that they can recognize themselves in it without feeling sort of embarrassment or shame.
Interesting. And yeah, I can imagine them being, I can imagine school teachers loving them, and also coaches, perhaps talking to a small group where everybody can see it. It's an interesting way to cover some topics and get people talking. And when did you come up with this idea, Tina?
I think it's about 9 years ago now, and it took a long time to marry my two passions, which is design. I'm a designer, and psychology, which I'm very passionate about. I spent myself nearly 20 years in psychotherapy, so I've been through it all. That's why I do them, because it's a kind of a giving back for me. And yeah, I mean, it's always funny, isn't it, when you look back and think, why did it take me so long to come up with this idea? They're definitely niche. They're definitely unique and very different. And people hang them as posters, which I like, because they say to me that, they walk past it every day. And so it sort of seeps into the subconscious. Sometimes the way we learn isn't just reading it at that moment, but sort of it lingers. And all of a sudden you're somewhere and you think, I get emails that say, I've never been able to say no to this person. And then I read your map and I literally found myself saying no. And so, those are the things that I find really inspirational, and that's why I do them,
Yeah,
to help
interesting.
people.
And how did you how did you sort of bring it to market, going from idea to getting it all done? Who did the pictures? How did you find a printer to make them? I'm interested in all of
Yeah.
that.
So I had a business partner. I reached out to a friend of mine. I had the idea and I said, look, I can't do this on my own because there was no benchmark. When you do something that isn't around in the market, it's really, really hard. It's much easier if you've got case studies. People have done these things. If you do a notebook, I suppose there's a million ways you can read about how to bring a notebook to life and sell it. So I asked a friend of mine. So we sort of thought about the folding and the paper for probably about a year or something like that. And then I asked just people I knew. I said, do you know any creative writers? I did know some illustrators, and I knew that I wanted to work with illustrators and writers to bring it to life. So that's how it works. It works with a big brainstorming day where we unpack the big themes of something like overthinking, anger, how to say no, and then we repackage it in a Mapology Guides way. And the way I always say to people, I actually had an accountability partner of this sort of woman I met at an event, and I said to her, can we speak every week and can I be accountable? And so every week, because I was doing something else, it was a side hustle, every week I ticked off, I found a printer, or I asked somebody who was printing, who would you recommend? And you just sort of in the beginning are very much in darkness, but because you are enthusiastic and because you want to bring something to life, I suppose the way it works is that you actually put one foot in front of the other, and slowly, I had all the pieces together in order to publish. But we published three, and my business partner was no longer my business partner. He wanted different subject matters, and I wanted self-help. I thought it was the zeitgeist for self-help, and it's also what I was passionate about. And so the other two flopped. So then I only had one map, so I had to take it off the market, regroup, do another two in order to have a bit of a series. And then I started marketing like a year and a half later and go to shops and things like that. So that was another experience, to go to shops and say, will you take a punt on us?
It's quite brave that you stuck to your vision. What was his idea or her idea for concept?
So we did a map on pets, and we did a map on gift giving, and they just didn't work for loads and loads of reasons. But I'm a huge fan of Seth Godin, and I remember him always saying, just ship and then worry about it later on. So you sit in a room with people and you think your idea is the best idea in this world and it's going to fly off, and of course that never happens, or very rarely. And then you ship it and then you find out what the problems are. So thankfully, when I started selling, there were one or two people in museums or whatever who said to me, look, we don't understand the title. We had loads of issues to overcome. That's why I withdrew it and sort of went back to square one, which was a really good thing to do.
And was that kind of what you had thought the whole time, that you wanted to be the vision of the product, the self-help theme?
Yes, definitely. It still is. I mean, although I've just released a map for the business world, so it's to do with creative thinking and innovation in the workplace, but it's still about psychology. Everything is about psychology in many ways, even being an employee or being an employer or whatever. So I'd like to bring out a range for kids. I'd like to bring out a range for older people. There's a lot of scope, but I think the overriding umbrella will always be that we, feed in psychology in a way, for people to,
I think this is a great idea, and I think the business side of it is really good as well, and I see it as being very interrelated. I see that I reckon there will be a huge demand in that area as well. Other question I've got: what happened to the business partner when you? I mean, did he get out of the business because he wasn't agreeing with the? And did he?
No, not at all. He wasn't the right. Although he's a really nice man, and we stayed friends, but he just wasn't the right business. His heart wasn't in it. He obviously couldn't say no, big mistake. So I asked him sort of to leave,
So
and
does he
we
have equity still, or
no.
but
I
he?
paid him, and we no we it was very very amicable and very agreeable. So
Okay.
no, he gave me back the 50% share. I paid him something for it,
Yeah.
and it was all good. It was all. I believe in. I'm a good communicator, so I believe in good
Yeah.
communication. I
Being
think you can
upfront
solve
and
everything
clear
with,
and
yeah, be
assertive.
clear, be fair, always be fair.
Yep.
I think that's the way forward. And I think he realized that he just wasn't the right person, because I had to sort of run with it and
Yeah.
did 95% anyway. So,
Yeah. So
you know,
you've got the vision that's proven to be strong and good for this product, and it was your idea. And do you find that people are starting to copy you now? Have you noticed that?
no. And the truth is, it's really hard to copy.
Mm.
And nobody goes there because it's very, very complex to do. The maps are complex. We distill a whole subject matter
Yeah.
into, an sheet of paper. I just think people couldn't copy, to be quite honest. Having said that, some business did try and copy one of the maps for internal use, and I got very, very annoyed, and they had to shred it in the end. And yeah, so there was one map that you know could be copied if and they did, but it's all design registered and it's all registered, and I'm quite hot on those things, and I
Yeah.
don't allow people. They actually copied the whole concept, copied how it's folded. They just copied the whole thing,
Yeah.
and asked me for my blessing. So that didn't go very well.
Yeah. God, the nerve. And is the concept patentable or not really?
I don't think the whole concept is the maps are patentable because
The individual designs, you mean, or?
yes, yes, but I don't tend to patent that. As I said, it's a really difficult
Yeah.
thing to copy. I mean, a lot of people do these cards, right? And you could say, well, everyone is copying each other with these cards that have a sentence on them, but they're all slightly different, and people don't bother with, because everybody has their own language, I think,
Mm.
and so I'm not. I don't get very worried about
No.
being
Well,
copied,
you're
and
doing
also
it
I
well
don't.
from the looks of it, and the other people won't be able to do it well. And you're also the first person to do it, so they're not going to be able to knock you off. But I was interested because there's a lot of self-help business side of things, and they are always stealing and recycling. And I'm sure they're going to try and do it, but I think you'll be fine. The other question: how many illustrators do you use?
Well, but I've got 15 maps. I actually have done 17 to 18. I mean,
You
another
do
part
the
of the business.
illustrating yourself?
No, not at
No,
all.
no. I was going to
I
say,
I couldn't do it. I
goodness
mean, they all
me.
look very, very different. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. I commission very, very talented people. I'm not that talented in illustration at all. Um, but the other side of the business is to sort of do bespoke mapology guides for businesses. So we collaborated with the NHS,
Oh,
which
that's a
is
good
our
idea.
national health. Yeah, because it's a great little marketing tool. It's a really
Mm.
great little thing to either use in house or just sort of give away. Unlike a, I don't know, a magazine ad that costs you a fortune, that somebody just does that and never really looks at it. So that's the other thing. But I'm very hot on helping illustrators, creative people, and there's such talented people, and they're very undervalued, I think, in many ways. Especially
Yeah.
illustrators are very undervalued. They're incredibly talented and
Yeah. People that
creative.
can create blows me
Yeah,
away. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that, so if you think about a greeting card, greeting cards are very popular, and you've got a little dog with some balloons saying happy birthday, and people will pay £5 for it. And if you look at some of my maps, I mean, they're just fully illustrated. Yeah, yeah, it always amazes me. It always amazes me. But yeah, I'm very lucky to work with great people that I invite to, you know, it takes somebody quite special to create a mapology guide. It isn't simple
Yeah.
at all.
Not everyone can
Yeah.
do it, for sure.
No,
I'm trying to get my
no.
head around the size of it. You know, like a normal painting that you might have in your house in a frame. Would that be close to an
Well,
A2?
um, it depends. I can tell you what an A2 is. An
I know what an
A2,
A3 is and an A4.
yes, exactly. So you just double up. So this is an A4. And if I double this up, it's an A3.
Yeah.
And if I double up the A3, it becomes an A2.
So four of them.
Four of these.
Yeah, four
Yeah.
A4s.
And so, yeah, and I can show you, for instance, our latest map in poster form. I don't know, A2 is sort of, I don't know.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah, yeah, like a picture frame. I was pretty close.
I'm not doing anything special with the sizing, I just, it's just a size. And people like hanging them up, with a bit of tape. They don't all frame them, you can just hang them up. Because as I said, often you can reuse a map over and over again or reread it over and over again, and you'll always find something new because we all change, and you can always find something new.
Yeah. Are there
And they're meant to be portable.
any plans to make an even bigger map, or is it even possible?
It's always possible, but
Yeah.
right now I'm keeping the format in terms of collectability and everything
Yeah.
else. It's a really good format. I mean, my dream is to have 500 of them.
Yeah.
There is something called Ladybird Bird Books in the UK. And my vision was always to be the Ladybird books of the 21st century because they're very light to ship. They're very light to take with you. You can put them in your jeans pocket. You can put them on a shelf or in a drawer at work. And I wanted them to be accessible. So if you're having some issue or you need to remind yourself why you could say no to the next party or whatever it is over Christmas, then you can grab it somewhere, unlike a magazine article or a book, which you wouldn't necessarily have with you. So there's a reason why it was designed the way it designed, and right now I'm quite happy with them. I don't think having them bigger would help because
No.
it's quite difficult to handle
Yeah.
an A1 sort of sheet of paper.
And you've got a specific vision for doing like a series and a certain amount that you want to do, and I can understand that if that's the case, you definitely want to keep it all uniform in terms of size. And can I ask what the RRP is for one of these maps?
Well, in the UK, it's £12. I think in the States it's like 16 or something, and Australian dollars, I'm not quite sure.
Put
I have
about
it
20
somewhere.
bucks, I reckon.
I
20?
think, yeah, something like that. But then, we offer bundles, which are cheaper if you buy a bundle of three. So we
That's a great
have,
price point. I mean, that's going to get all the teachers on board, and yeah, that's very good. And what about the custom pieces you talked about? Just say I'm a company and we've got this leadership problem, and we want to do all this stuff on leadership. And I say, Tina, can you do one for me? What would it cost for a custom piece?
that really depends.
Yeah.
It depends on
How
many,
long's a
many
piece of
things.
string?
How long is a piece of string? How many people are involved? How many copies would that need? It just depends. It really does. But what happens is that the front, for instance, it becomes the company's map. So you wouldn't have my designs here. It would be the company's map. Somewhere inside it would say, commissioned by Mapology Guides, so that the name is there, because obviously it's like an IP license, isn't it? But everything else on the map would be the company's map, and that's to be decided. As I said, it just depends on many, many things, how quickly they want it. If people want to work on it for 12 months, that would cost more than if somebody says, I know what we're doing, help us do this. We need it in 2 months' time. That would be different, obviously, than me having to work on it for 12 months. And also, I would choose the illustrators. So it
Yeah.
will all be managed by Mapology Guides.
Yeah.
But the end result would be for the company, as I said. So the NHS one I don't sell or anything, because it's not part of my series of anything. So yeah, so that's just another way of of getting to do a Mapology Guides.
Does the custom ones seem to be a growth area or just kind of a side part of the business?
Well, I would like it to be more of a growth area. I think the challenge is whoever commissions one is a little bit visionary, because people
Yeah.
still like brochures with stock photography. They have no qualm sort of spending money on something like that. That actually doesn't say very much. The writing is very boring.
I hate
It
it.
goes over people's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, let's take a bank or something, right? They're talking at you. They don't talk to you.
Mm.
But by my post guides, we talk to
Yeah.
people, talk to human
Totally
beings.
different.
And some people will think, well, illustration's a bit childish. Do you see what I'm saying? So the people commissioning it really have to fall in love with
Yeah.
the whole concept. And as I said, there's still too many companies who love stock photography and
Oh no!
boring.
Honestly, I think this idea is going to catch on. I think immediately I see the value in it, and I can see lots of ways of using it. One thing I was going to ask you: do you find that a lot of people laminate them, and so they can just have a whole bunch of them and throw them around the classroom?
I have never come across that. There was one, I think they were boarding school, who said, could we have them double the size, which was A1? And I think maybe they wanted to laminate it. But the thing with printing something in A1, these are litho printed, so they're printed in A2. So if I'm going to do an A1, I need to digitally print it, right? Which is a completely different price point,
Yeah.
because digital printing is quite expensive with the sort of paper they use. It's sort of quite nice paper and all of that stuff. I mean, my paper is brilliant and very expensive, but it's litho printed in sort of quantity. So I haven't really. I know that some teachers are annoyed I don't release them in PDF, but there's a reason for it. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I love print. I think we learn better
Yeah.
by touching and smelling and looking at something rather than on screen. And
Yeah.
so there's a whole reason why they're not PDF, but they get annoyed because they're saying, well, I'm a teacher, I can't afford to have, 20 or something, which I understand, but it is not something I'm looking to change, unfortunately. And I think some teachers just hang them on a wall and then everybody can use them. So, yeah.
Interesting. The other question I forgot to ask, I wanted to ask, was when you started the business, how did you find distributors and people that wanted to buy it? How did you get the word out, apart from
Well,
podcasts?
yes, and Facebook ads, which I also spend money on, and Google. I think it is word of mouth. I think the first thing I did is to go to shops, like the first thing I did. And it was only when the pandemic hit that shops became a bit more difficult, obviously, because they had to close down, and then the economy changed, and it became challenging. But I think having them in shops, or the other thing that I was lucky, I think, in the beginning is I found a subscription box who bought them. So every time I issued a map, they bought like 2,000 or something. So 2,000 boxes with the map in it would go somewhere, and so that spreads the word, if you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, because people see one and then they might want another one, or whatever. So there's various ways of being out there. I've stopped doing Facebook ads, by the way. So
Yeah.
I'm determined to do it differently. I don't really like the idea of Facebook ads, but I know we all have to somehow
Yeah.
do it.
Keep doing the podcast because these will be out there forever, and especially the ones with the YouTube live as well. People will come across it and you'll hear them say, "Oh, I saw you on this, that, and the other." And obviously, it takes a long time before it all starts happening. But
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
But they are, funnily enough, I often am somewhere at an event or whatever, and people say, somebody bought me your map. They actually have one of my maps for this.
yeah,
Happens all the time. So sometimes we're fooled with thinking a small business, just nobody knows about them because they haven't been on TV or something. It's not quite like that. It is not quite like that. So I find that always really interesting. Or yeah,
Yeah.
people find it in various ways, which I always find really exciting. I'm like, often I don't know where they found me, and even if you email them, like some businesses, especially during the pandemic, when they would send out care packages to their employees to say thank you, they would buy a Mapology guide, but I never knew quite how they got to me. Or people buy, the businesses buy them sometimes for away days. They're having an away day, so they'll pick one of the titles and buy 50 or whatever. So I don't know how they get to me. And when I try and email and say, oh, just out of interest, you don't get an answer, which is absolutely fine. I do appreciate it. But I do always ask because I'm just fascinated. I'm just
Yeah.
interested how
Well, this
people.
idea is so unique and interesting to me that I can almost guarantee that there'll be somebody I'm speaking to in a podcast episode, and it will come up something they're doing, and I'll say, "Oh, the Mapology lady," and I'll try, and I'll hopefully I'll remember your name, but yeah, no, but I mean, I can remember it. I know A2 size, self-help concepts, visualize. Like it's such a great idea. Um, yeah, do you find people just have a really positive response to it just off the bat?
Yes, when they have them or see them or have worked with one, they love it.
Mm.
Sometimes I think the challenge is not everybody understands them immediately because they're quite complex. So if there's a notebook that says it's okay not to be okay, everybody understands that. But sometimes, especially in a shop, maybe, you look at it and you're just like not quite understanding it. And I think that is still part of my challenge to, how do you communicate something that's a bit more complex? But once they've seen them, especially, I mean, they look nice online, don't get me wrong. But I think when people touch them and look at them, I often get emails saying, oh my God, the quality, the paper is really good, the printing is really good, the illustrations are really good, and they don't quite understand why it all looks good together, but it's always in the details. And I'm a details person. I'm a designer, so I'm sort of a stickler for the details. And it takes about 2 to 3 months to work on one map. It's
Yeah,
how complex it is because we keep having to edit and edit and edit and edit.
yeah, it's a distilling down all the time,
Yes.
and sometimes some things are not explaining the concept well enough, and you find a better way that immediately explains it better. This is a good idea. And what about, Tina? I've got this idea of putting them into like an anthology book. Is this something you've thought of?
No, I haven't. I mean,
And you could sell it for like $150, and you got like a whole series of them in there together, because the teachers will love that. They'll be able to
but the
turn.
teachers don't have the money, or the
True.
colleges have the money.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? It's like,
Mm.
no, but I'd love them. I mean, my biggest dream is, I've got 15 at the moment in circulation, but, when I have 20 or whatever, I mean, I'd love to do an exhibition somewhere. It could be a
Mm.
selling exhibition
Yeah,
where you
that'd be
literally
good.
hang them up in frames on both sides. So, and then my biggest dream is, because I love typography and I love languages, for them to be translated in different languages. So my dream is that somebody from Korea or Japan, would all be ready somehow, and then we would just press a button, it'd be printed, and they can take it away. So, I have many plans, but of course, all these things cost money, and you have to find the right distributors, the right people. So there's a lot in the pipeline, and I'm self-funded, and each map costs a few £1,000s. So I'd love to do 10 a year, but obviously
Yeah.
I'm a little bit limited there. But I've got time. I've got
So
time,
how
and I've
many a
got.
year do you think you could do? 3 or 4?
Well, yes, I mean that's maximum,
Mm.
really. Well, it isn't maximum. It's maximum in terms of financially, um, but because then you have to also print them, sell them, warehouse the. The cost just goes up and up and up the more
Yeah,
you have.
absolutely. Would you?
Um, yeah.
Sorry. bombarding you and interrupting you. Would you ever be interested in somebody investing in it to help, say, if they go, look, I want to release this in the United States or something, but and then you have full control?
Yes. I mean, I talk to people in the United States. Yes, I would. I mean, I think the thing for me is letting go of, so let's say, the printing. Now, I pass them on press every single time. The reason I do that is because they're multicolored. And the poor guy standing at the machine, although there's always a test one, there's always you get sent, I forgot now what they're called, but you can never quite work it right. And it's only me standing there going, take out a bit of yellow, take, sort of up the blue a bit, that we get it right. And so my worry, I suppose, is if I let go of that, they wouldn't be as good. But I can be persuaded. So it is just a matter of finding the right people who I feel care about quality and details, not just about, let's print it and sell it, so, which there's loads of those around, by the way, which I'm not so keen on, because it's a passion project in many ways, but it's also about, you don't want to dilute a brand, if that makes sense. You don't want to sort of 10 different people doing 10 different things. You've got to control it somehow. But yes, I'm always open. I talk to a lot of people. I'm always looking. And that's part of I find that exciting in the sort of entrepreneurial way you just don't know what tomorrow brings, and you don't know who you meet.
Especially when you've got a good idea like this, people will see it as a good idea. So are you looking to sort of, do you want the business to like grow spectacularly, or do you want to keep your personal touch in it more so? Like, do you want it to, like, I don't know, I just feel like this has got a lot of potential.
It has potential. They're very, very lightweight to send, for instance. So people ask me this, like, what about if somebody, is going to order 1 million? Would you print in China? Because I print in London, by the way. And my answer is always no. So to your question, yes, I do want it to grow. I do not want to sell out in any way. Do believe.
Good.
I do believe in provenance and supporting my country where I live with print and everything else. And I'll worry about shipping in any other way. I think it's all possible. That's what I'm trying to say, without diluting and without giving away that sort of control of the detailed stuff. But the reason I want it to grow is because I want more people to be able to learn from them. I mean, that's the whole point. That's why I'm doing it. I want people to have more self-awareness, to have more agency. I like empowering people. I love when people feel empowered by the maps. And they're really good educational material. They're really, really good. There's a lot of creativity in there. I love when people can think creatively, so that's all in them, because I think creativity saves the world, and there's not enough creativity, there's not enough people that sort of think creatively about maybe their problems in life, and if you learn how to do that, you could have a really more interesting life, or look after your health better, or if we talk about health, people are often in this country quite passive and just go to the doctor and don't really think, what could I do to help myself? Whereby I live proactively about things. So, if you think creatively and you think, well, actually, how can I help myself not to get flu this year without maybe just taking a flu jab, but maybe I eat more oranges, or maybe, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, I'm interested in people to think more creatively and to not just be passive about things.
Can I say something that you might not like?
Of course.
I think you should put the price up, Tina.
Well, let me tell you something, Julian. They started off at £5. And I'm going to say this. I normally don't say it openly, but I will. I wrote to Seth Godin. Do you know Seth Godin?
Yes. Is he the 5-day work week guy?
No,
Oh,
he's the interruption, permission, marketing, and Purple Cow. He's written like 30 books or something
okay.
like that. He's a marketing guru.
I've read a summary of it, but I haven't read.
Oh, I'm sure once you look at it, you will see. And I wrote to him when I first started, and I said, "Will you write a map?" And of course, he did say, "What a great idea! Send me your favorite one." So I did, and he called me, and he was
Wow.
very generous. He said, "They're far too cheap. They need to be." I think he said $12.99 back in 2015 or 16. And anyway, and he sort of gave me, some mentoring. It was fantastic. Honestly, I was speechless and incredibly grateful. I then put them up to £6, £10, and I've just put them up to £12. I know exactly what you say because I struggled with this because I wanted people to have them. I don't want them to be, too expensive, but also have to look at the competition of whether books or something else. And I think I'm just at the right price, to be honest. I really feel good about the price. And I put it up in September. And I think this is the right price for now. But thank you. I mean, as I said, I've struggled a lot with that. And because it's all about perception, isn't it? Some people think a book of 300 pages should be more expensive than my product because my product is just sort of one sheet of paper.
You're right.
But we understand how perception can be misconstrued. But yes, so thank you for that.
I was just thinking because there's so much quality in the process that you care about it so much. It's not just junk. I just think maybe maybe even just $5 more on the price. But I mean, I don't know.
No, because I would outprice myself on.
I'm just coming out of left field.
No, but this is, I'm very, very, it took me a long time to get to this price. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You always, you're always feeling a bit insecure about it. But funnily enough, once it became more expensive, more people bought it.
That's what I was going to say. I say, like, if that's the case, then you definitely made the right decision as far as putting it up to what you've done there. And I think similar would happen if you put it up a little bit more. Anybody out there watching, and if you love this incredibly creative way of educating people with great important topics that I've never seen before in my life, and you want to get one, you better get it now before the price goes up, because I think it will, because I think it's worth more. Fantastic idea.
I'm going to blame Julian. If I put the price, I'm going to say...
You blame me?
Lee. Yeah.
I pressured you. Well, that's wonderful. I love a good creative idea like this, and I don't see many creative ideas. Sorry, people, but this one is very unique, and I can just imagine so many different uses for it: classrooms, coaches, companies. Who else? Therapy. It's just endless.
Also, parents. I mean,
Parents,
although they
of
are
course.
adults, as in, I'd say 18, 19 or something upwards, but sometimes, if you've got a really smart kid and you're doing it with your child, there's one on overthinking, for instance. So parents buy them as well, as well as
Absolutely. It's very hard to draw.
Graduates, that sort of thing.
Yeah, communicating with your children is difficult. They find it difficult. We find it difficult, but they very much love creative things, and they could definitely aid in a way of expressing what they need. And it's such an important thing today with the social media and kids feeling all this pressure and isolated. And I'm always worried about my kids, and I'm like, "Are you okay? Everything all right?" And they just grunt back, and they anything that will help break the ice. I think this is a great icebreaker.
Thank you so much. I need to apologize to you for being so rubbish at this quiz. I wish Heidi would have been here, because I think it would have made me think, you know what I mean? There's like, it's easier if there's more people.
Well, you might have been bad at the quiz, but very good in terms of everything else. Thank you very much for coming on. Tina Bernstein, that was very interesting. That's a round of applause for Tina.
But I really enjoyed the quiz as well, by the way, because I've learned something. I love them.
Glad you had fun. Usually the quiz is the best part, but this time the second bit was the best part.
No, the quiz was great. It's just I was rubbish, but the quiz was great.
Well, thank you once again, and anybody out there, in the show notes you'll find the details to check out Tina's fantastic creative venture and everything Tina's doing. If you want to reach out to her and get yourself one of these maps, and at the price they are at, for the value you get, I think it's a fantastic buy. Thank you, Tina Bernstein.
Thank you, Julian. Really enjoyed being here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening and watching. I'm going to wrap things up.